Scotty. See if he gets his cocktail ready. But we are live.
That's better.
How do you feel? What did you end up getting?
I went with a gentleman's pour. I went Maker's 46.
Oh, I have a bourbon as well.
Oh,
so
that doesn't shock me.
I don't know if I see it showing up on the.
Yeah, I was going to tell you I don't see it either.
Well, I just pressed record, but you would think it would show up, right? Live. Let's see. Watch live. You would think ours.
What the fuck's the issue? I mean, what the hell's the issue now with this thing?
I don't know. But that's a problem.
Yeah, because we just got in love with like doing the live thing, and then.
Yeah. So do me a favor. Can you go on Facebook and just send and make a comment like Facebook Live not working? Head on over to click on the head on over to YouTube to watch and participate. Something like
on
that.
It.
That's just.
We got to figure that out, dude.
Yeah, they don't. There's like no. The help service is all like. It's all like
was it YouTube
automated
Live?
YouTube Live. Yeah, the link is right there. If you go to the one where I said we're live at 4 o'clock,
yeah.
I have a link to YouTube. You just
I'll just put link is above. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, we're good. I put it. That sucks. God damn it.
Yeah.
All right.
So whatever. So I got golf outing, NIL, NBA playoffs, NBA coaching carousel, NFC West, and the number 23.
That's it, bro.
Okay, this should be. Well, we never know.
I was
just gonna say, what am I talking about?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, what am I talking about? All right, let's. I'll get us going with the for the podcast version. What's up, everybody, and welcome to Bump and Run. I'm Pete Colasano, joined as always by my friend and golf outing partner, Scott Bracey. What's going on, dude?
How you doing, buddy? Good afternoon.
I'm doing okay. We're fortunate enough to get out together and play some golf. For those who are listening, we do not do this in the same room. We do this. What is it, like 130-mile difference?
It's probably a fair number. Yeah.
Somewhere in that range, right? But through the miracle of technology, we're able to bring you this podcast with the two of us debating different topics and stuff. But luckily Sunday we were able to get out and play some golf together. And let me just say this. Listen, I've been playing golf for, almost 30 years, about 30 years. And the best way I can describe our play on Sunday was that Scotty did not embarrass himself playing. All right. So the NBA playoffs. Oh, did you want to talk about?
Should I go get the scorecard, or should we leave it?
That's a cold move right there.
Let me just. I was gonna be nice and kind.
Was there more? Was there more?
It was great to play with you. Great to see you. The beverages were great, nice and cold. Yes. It was fun. We got paired with a couple of guys, a fivesome.
Yeah,
a family show, but a fivesome. That was interesting, but good guys. Richie and Ryan were brothers, and Derek was the other guy. Very well, good players, good time.
I thought it was Mo, Larry, and Curly. I couldn't remember their names.
We had a little wager on the line, and you had a let's put it tough front nine.
No, I disagree.
Or maybe tough.
I had a tough
seven.
Front seven.
Yeah, front seven.
Tough is actually being kind. It was nauseating, if I'm being honest. I was 15 over through 7 holes, 15 or 16 over through 7 holes, which it's worse than it even sounds.
Hey, listen,
sounds bad?
You got a good tour of the golf course, at least.
Oh, my goodness. It sounds bad. Believe me, that sounds bad. So for those of you, and nobody knows what I do. Some of our friends might know what we score, but like I'm usually anywhere from I'll say 82 to 88, on a normal round, somewhere in that range. Like I can shoot a little better than that. And as you'll find out, I can shoot worse than that, but somewhere in the range of like 82 to 88, depending on how I am off the tee. That's what it really all comes down to. And I was not good off the tee early. It was strikingly bad, and so 15 or 16 over through 7. Now, to give myself some credit in the area of like patience, perseverance, calmness on the golf course, I'm also, if I'm not mistaken, I was only 7 over the rest of the round. So through the last 11 or 12 holes, I was only 7 over.
Yeah.
So I did kind of.
You rallied. You definitely rallied.
I righted the ship, a little bit. So I was happy with that. But man, it was rough. It's funny. Most of the times when you play golf and usually people make the same mistake over and over, and you kind of have an idea in your head. Oh, I got to do this. I got to turn my hips. I have to keep my chin down, or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm aligning too far from the ball. Like everybody's got their thing. But when you're spraying the ball in every direction, when you're not sure if it's going to go left or right, when you have no idea what's going to happen, when you pop up a 3-wood off the tee.
I wasn't going to bring that up, but I'm glad you did.
It goes 14.75 feet into the marsh.
As your mulligan shot.
My mulligan. Yeah. That was well used.
Not what you want.
Both of mine were not well used. In fact, both of my mulligans went in the water. Right?
What was your second mulligan?
Well, the second one was on the 18th hole. Actually, was the first shot that went in the water.
That's right.
And then I popped up the 3-wood again. Anyway, it was rough. It was rough. But yeah, I absolutely had a good time. I think it was a great time. We earned a few new listeners, hopefully.
I hope so. Yes, sir.
And with some requests and stuff, maybe one of these days we'll talk some soccer. We can try.
I might be out that day, but go on.
Yeah, it might be sick. He's vaccinated, but he might have COVID that day. God. But we can try. You never know. It's possible.
Yeah,
it is a global sport.
It's I had it on yesterday for about 3 minutes, and I said I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
And I have a lot of buddies who watch it. I can't do it.
I mean, listen.
But there's probably people that don't like golf, and we're talking about golf, so it's one of those things.
Yeah, and we call that a you problem. So
exactly,
it is what it is. You know.
But dude, but it was great to see you. The next time we play, you'll probably be locked and loaded. But we kept the I
was loaded.
Light, but
10 seltzers later, I was loaded.
Yeah, a quick nap after the 18th hole.
I did throw my head back there for a couple minutes. But I agree with you. The cool thing is because we like to bust balls and we do make a little bit of noise. I don't mean like we're yelling and screaming, but I just mean like we're very chatty on a golf course. And I do believe we were fortunate to not just get 1 or 2 guys that could tolerate us, but 3.
Yeah.
3 guys that could tolerate our nonsense. And so that was that. To be totally honest, that actually made it easier through those first 7 holes because we ended up talking a little bit about the podcast, which probably helped take my mind off of some incredibly shitty play. So yeah, Scotty did win on the bet, and I was.
And the drinks were delicious.
I was a little mortified, but that is the way it goes sometimes,
The pupil beats the teacher.
Well, I didn't teach anything about golf, so but yeah, it goes that way. But I'll be back.
You will be back.
We'll play again soon.
I'll tell you what, though, if we ever get lucky in an outing, me and you and the Valley, we could do some damage. I
agree. Oof. Yeah, I agree because so I played in like a kind of not an outing, but there were 8 of us yesterday, and what we did was we had 2 teams of 4. And what we did was the 2 best scores from each hole were kind of like your total. So if you went if you had 2 pars, it was like 4 and 4. You guys got an 8 for that round.
Right.
And we did end up losing by 1 stroke, but we won the front 9. I think we fell apart on the last 3 holes. And but I actually enjoyed that style. It was cool because like instead of it being like a scramble where you don't really, it's kind of hard to know how you played because like if you hit a couple decent shots, it's like, well, dude, you contributed hugely.
Right.
But you didn't you don't know like what your score was or anything. But so in this, you just played your game. You just and kept your own score, and I ended up shooting an 86 with a mulligan, an 86 1 mulligan, and but you kept your score, and you just of your foursome, you just used the 2 best scores on each hole. I actually really enjoyed that style.
Cool. Now, did you know all 7 guys?
I knew, God, 6 out of the, including myself. So I knew 5 of the other 7 guys.
That's pretty good. That's good.
Yeah. So they were behind. We were out first. They were behind us, and but it was just a neat. Now listen, the problem is you have to have 8 guys to even try to pull something off like that.
Right.
But they pulled it off, and I have to say it was nice because if you had a bad hole, your teammates. So like it was great because you're keeping your own score, which is important. You want to know how you did, but yet you're not playing against the guys in your foursome. Yeah. You're playing with them. They're actually teammates. So you're rooting for them to do well, even though one of the guys got an 80 in my foursome, which on a normal day I'd be like, son of a bitch, like I got beat. But on this day I was like, dude, that was awesome. You know what I mean? So it was actually a cool way of doing it. It was different. It was unusual. It's not usually how people do it, but it was kind of cool.
We have trouble up here getting 4 guys. You guys got 8 guys. That's pretty impressive.
On a weekday. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which, right. It's very rare. A lot of teachers, a couple guys on vacation, and a few municipal workers. So that's the way it goes, I guess. And it was like a 1:30 start, 1:40. Ours was 1:39.
Now was it fucking 98 degrees down there like it was up here?
Oh my God. So you know what's so funny about that? It was hot as hell. It was 95, 96 degrees when we teed off. Now I'd like to say it got cooler. Yeah, it cooled off to like 91 by like the 15th hole.
Yeah, you're so.
But it's so funny. Like I'm drenched. I looked like I was lactating by like the 4th hole. So by like the 9th hole, I'm dry. You run out of sweat and the sun just burns. Yeah. I know, believe me, I know. Yeah, so like this was a rare occasion. So I just had 2 because it was so hot. I only brought like 2 seltzers with me, like spike seltzers. And I actually brought 3 waters. When the hell? I don't even bring water ever. And this like the little waters, the little 6 ounce. Well, I don't know what they are.
The ones you brought to the other day.
Yeah, the little guys. I brought 3 of those and used them. Like, when the hell do I ever do that? Right. So it was hot, but I don't care about the heat. That doesn't bother me. It just doesn't bother me. But anyway, I played about this. I played about the same as I did like those last 11, 12 holes with us. So it's just off the tee. I'm a friggin' disaster off the tee, and I'm constantly trying to correct bad tee shots, and that's a really tough way to score.
But dude,
and what's worse is what I always say is a problem is if you go right all the time, you can adjust. If you go left if you hook it, if you slice it normally, you can adjust to that. If sometimes you go right and sometimes you go left, that's a real friggin' problem. And that's where I'm at right now.
Yeah.
That's where I'm at. When I swing smooth, I'm a straight to slight fade actually. But when I try to like muscle up, that's when my hands get way out in front of my body. Plus, I'm getting older. I'll be 48 in 5 days, and I don't have the same like rotation. So like it's real easy for my hands to get out in front of my body. This is also, it's not just the age. It's also like at my age, and I don't stretch at all. At all. I'm just a flexible, just disaster. So like it's real easy. Yeah, it's real easy for my hands to get out in front of my body, and I can't even stop it. Like I can't mentally stop it. It's just almost like the natural swing at this point. So
yeah, because then golf. Like if you mentally try to do that, then something else is going to go wrong.
Yeah, you're blocking. Then next thing you're blocking it out to the right.
Or you're hitting it underneath. You're chunking it.
It needs to be like I at some point yesterday I was like trying to be like real technical, and I just like sculled the ball or I pushed it out to the right or something like that. I'm like, I can't play like that. Like it's very funny because in most sports that I play, I am very technical. Like you call me like a fundamental shooter, my shooting form, the way I throw a football, they tend to be really technically sound. My golf swing is more of a natural, free-flowing swing. And when I try to be technical, oh God, it goes south in a real hurry because it's just too stiff.
And golf's one of those sports or hobbies or whatever people want to. It takes time, so you're not going to go up to a tee and just adjust and change something right there. Because I have buddies that do that. Oh, let me just try to like maybe slice now or get this over a tree and go dog leg, and you hit the ball 8 feet to your right. Like it just doesn't make. You can't do it. You
can't do it. You have to go with your natural swing. You can adjust your natural swing. You can make slight adjustments to your natural swing with timing and all kinds of stuff, but you can't do that. What the heck is going on here? So anyway, that's where we're at with that. It was fun. I had a good time. I enjoyed yesterday. Who knows when the next time I'll even get out and play. But, it was good. So listen. Well, go ahead.
Hopefully sooner than later, buddy. That's how you get better in your game anyway. So just.
That is true. This is true.
One of those things.
So we kind of had a schedule ready to go for today. And then something popped up late. I guess it was last night because I didn't see it until this morning. That the NCAA, I don't even know really how to word this because they're not really doing anything. I guess they've relieved themselves of the responsibility of kind of like monitoring how players are paid by outside sources, I guess you could say.
Yes, that's probably the best way to put it.
They call it NIL. Players now have the ability to make money. I'm sorry, let me take this back. College players. And I'm going to make a statement at the end of this, and it's going to sound absolutely foolish, and it shouldn't be. It should be taken very seriously. College athletes can now make money from outside sources on their name, image, and likeness. What does that mean exactly? So we are a podcast here, and at some point, 7-Up may say, does 7-Up even make soda anymore? What a weird choice of sodas. How about Gatorade? Gatorade decides they want to sponsor us, right? Why? Because we have an immense audience and they want to get their message out to that immense audience. So they will pay us to put, an ad or whatever, or to make a verbal kind of commercial, right? So now athletes in college can do that. Go ahead. You were going to say something.
Nope, I just said a read. Like you got a sponsor read or something like that.
Yeah, or you can show up at a burger joint and they can pay you $500 for an hour of signing autographs or whatever the case may be. Now, the rules with that are you cannot use your school because now you're using the name, image, and likeness of your university.
Right. And
you can't combine the two, which I get. Okay. And so let me ask you this before we even go any further with this. Before this came out, were you in favor of or against any forms of paying players?
I don't love it, to be honest with you, because I think there's just so many branches of bad that it can go. But
now, before you go any further, do you acknowledge that some players were being paid like under the table?
Oh my God, absolutely.
Okay. So then you would be okay with that continuing? Oh my God, of course. I'm just saying,
listen.
You have to start from a position of players. Some players are being paid, whether it's to come to the school or while they're at the school, whatever the case may be. Some players are already being paid under the table, dark money, whatever you want to call it. So that's why I'm just wanted to start from that.
And I don't want to get on a Michigan high horse here by any means, but as a Michigan fan and Harbaugh now, they want to do everything so clean in the right way, where sometimes it drives you nuts because they lost out on a couple guys. And I'm not saying money had something. I'm hinting money or something had to do with a house. If everyone saw the program, or blue chips, a tractor, a bag of money, a house for the fan, whatever it is. Because Ohio State seems to be getting all these guys. And, Miami back in the day got all these guys. Alabama, Cam Newton makes no joke about it. He got paid no joke from Auburn. It was like, who came with the most money?
Did he get paid from Auburn, or he get paid from Florida in the first?
Well, he stole a computer from Florida. He got kicked out, and then he got money from Auburn. Yeah, there's a lot going on there, Mr. Newton. But
Good guy.
When people make and listen, when there's smoke, there's fire. I think that this has been going on a long time. And
so we acknowledge that they're being played. So they're not being paid.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Yeah.
So then, are you? So, but you're against stuff like this.
Listen, I think it was only a matter of time.
Yes,
before something like this happened. So and this actually might benefit a school like Michigan. A lot of money, big time program, big time boosters, big time factories and stuff up there, bars.
For sure.
I think this could help them if that's what it comes down to. But I just hope. I don't know if it's going to be the same 10, 12 powerhouse schools or it's going to open things up again. I just don't know.
Yeah. So I'm averse to the idea. So I have very conflicting feelings on this because I'm a free market capitalist by nature. Like I believe that we should let the free market dictate as much as humanly possible. We should let the free market dictate these things. And with that being the case, as to not be a hypocrite, I have to be, at least right now, I have to be kind of okay with this. Now, what I'm not necessarily for, I'm not for at all, are colleges paying players. And here's why. What most people don't know, and I just want to get this out there because we're talking two different things. We're talking two very different things. Think of the name, image, and likeness as like you could do a car commercial and get paid for that. Whereas if the school paid you, that would be like the Detroit Lions paying Jared Goff. Like that's your salary. One is your salary and one is side cash, I guess you can call it. Although it'll end up being like immense amounts of money, but that's besides the point. I'm like incredibly against colleges paying athletes, and here's why. Part of it comes down to Title IX, and part of it comes down to the reality of who makes money and who doesn't make money. The reality is that I would say 60 to 70%, only 60 to 70% of Division I programs, football programs, make money.
Right.
So not all football programs make money for the school. Some of them are a net cost. Now, obviously, your Alabamas, Clemson's, Ohio State's, Michigan's, they make money. But it goes much further than that and that's why I say Title IX comes into this. You wouldn't be able to only pay football players. If you're going to pay football players, you end up having to pay all athletes, okay? And you'll probably have to pay them all equally.
Right.
Now, back to why that matters. Even college basketball, which for television and for the NCAA itself makes gobs of dough, there's really only a handful of schools that make money on college basketball. You probably know who they are: Duke, North Carolina. Like, there's a handful. Kentucky. Yeah. Yes, probably. Maybe Gonzaga does at this point. Maybe Michigan State. It's really because some of it comes down to coaching salaries. Some of it just comes down to how much you bring in. It's just It's just different. So now you're talking like 60 to 70% of football programs, and then maybe 25. I don't even know if it's 25% of basketball programs.
I think it's less. I think it's
probably less. Yeah, you're probably right. All other sports, swimming, crew, golf, field hockey, gymnastics, they all are net losses when it comes to money in the school. But you're going to have to pay those players? And how do you not?
You're going to pay
because
a crew member as a quarterback?
As I'm saying, Tiger Woods goes to Stanford, and you're not going to pay him even though golf is a net loss for the school? You would have to anyway by law. You're going to have to pay the girl on the gymnastics team the same amount, I would think, or else there's going to be lawsuits coming out the ass. And now you're going to have to pay players when you're losing money. The reason pro athletes get paid is because the team makes so much money.
Right.
NBA athletes get 50%, I think, of the revenue, whatever the team makes, 50% of that goes to salaries, or it's supposed to, somewhere in that range. I think the NFL is closer to like 45%. That's where salary cap comes into place. That salary cap is based on revenue. You know, this case came up recently in the last year or two with the women's soccer team. As a organization, all of women's soccer doesn't bring in even close to what all of men's soccer brings in, but then the girls want to be paid the same. You guys just don't bring in the revenue that the men's, not the American men's team, but the overall men's soccer.
Yeah,
it's not even close. It's not even close. Like if you watch European soccer or all the international stuff, the men, they bring in more. So then the problem becomes, how is like Boise State going to pay their athletes to play? I mean, the complications, and then how did they pay their basketball player? And how did they play their women's basketball team? And what's dangerous is that then what you have to do as a school is you have to decide, do we keep these programs or do we bail on them? And my guess is one of the most deleterious things that'll happen because of this moving forward is that certain sports will get cut, because if they have to get paid, the revenue just isn't there for them. Right? But that's different than this. This, as a free market capitalist myself, I believe it's okay. I believe it's just wrought with problems that could come up. But we're just gonna have to figure those out. Like I don't know if they're gonna have to put a cap on how much you can make or
adjust on the fly, bro. That's what's gonna have to be.
I don't know how that's gonna work.
Well, now can you have multiple sponsors? Because the star cornerback at LSU, what the hell's his name? Singletary or whatever. Stingley, Darryl Stingley Jr.
Okay.
He just got like a rival, because July 1st was the first day he could do this. So overnight he made a deal with like a bar and pub down there in Baton Rouge. Now can he have like a restaurant, a gas station?
I don't see why not.
Yeah, so it's not.
But what he cannot do, he cannot actually directly associate himself with anything LSU.
Right.
So he can't wear his jersey.
Right. Like there's no free there's no free meals or anything like that either, right? Is it?
There could be.
Oh, there. Okay. So like I said before, so this thing really spreads out. Like.
Yeah, because to me it means there's no limits, right? Like I didn't hear any kind of limits.
Yeah. Well, you're right. Me neither. That's why I thought maybe you would know.
And the other thing. No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Real quick. Back in the day, that was Deion Sanders. I think somebody bought him like a $6 sandwich, and they got in trouble.
Well, that becomes my question. Did he get that as a recruit, or did he get that once he was there? So this is what one of the regulations. One of the regulations for this is you can't do it during recruiting. You can kind of say this is what you can get if you come here and play well.
Yeah,
obviously you could say that. Well, listen, this is why I say there are problems inherent in the system here. But if I'm being true to my beliefs, I have to say go ahead and do it. But yeah, there shouldn't be a limit on how many different places you can go to. It's just you can't, like, he can't wear any LSU gear. He can't have like the LSU stadium in the background of like an ad.
Yeah, right.
Because then that organization, if it's a restaurant or a bar, then that bar owes LSU because they're using the LSU logo, name, and likeness, I guess you can say.
Well, nothing. Well, listen, I've been to a couple college towns. Every bar you go to is littered with their college stuff in the bars.
Listen, so like you have pictures in the background.
Right.
That's your decor. That's different. Okay. Like if you're a bar owner and there was a law in town that you didn't like and you ended up on TV, on CNN talking about it, that's part of your decor. They can't do anything about that. I'm just saying, like the kid can't show up in his LSU jersey, can't have an LSU T-shirt. They can't, like, how like you do green screen and you can see it'll look like the LSU football field behind it. You can't do shit like that. That'll be out of bounds. That'll be off limits.
Yeah, so, this has got some tightening up to do, I think, as of right now. But we'll see.
Yeah, but to me, if it's gonna be done, and it's being done, this is really the only way it should be done. Because now it's up to the individual to go out and find his money. You know what I mean? His side cash.
Yeah.
And you can even, it goes even further. You can get an agent. You can basically hire a booking agent to find you the different places that'll pay.
Well, now this puts more jobs in colleges for compliance and stuff and make sure everything's clean as a whistle.
For sure, because now you got to pay taxes. You got to pay taxes on that money, so there'll be accountants and stuff like that. And go ahead.
Is it only your college town, or can you benefit from your hometown too?
It could be anybody, I would think.
Anybody.
If as I say, if Gatorade wants it, so like you think of like some of the, so like anybody could do it. If you like, if you're just a starting guard, like you Denver Broncos drafted the kid who tucks his shirt in and shows his belly, the lineman, and it was kind of like a thing. Dude, let's say like Fat Belly Deli wanted to pay him because he's eating their sub and his belly's sticking out. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, that's a good one.
Normally he's nobody, but he made a kind of thing for himself, and he can go do it.
Market himself, yeah.
But on the other end of it, with like I'm thinking of like through history, like who have been some of the biggest names. You think of like a Reggie Bush who got busted for taking cash.
Tebow.
You think of like Tim Tebow, Brian Bosworth, Deion Sanders, Johnny Manziel. Like these guys would probably get Pepsi, Coca-Cola. They're going to get Gatorade. They're going to get Ford, Nike. Unless they put some kind of guardrails on this, that's what's going to happen. So then you're going to get the offensive lineman. And I don't know if he's going to complain about it because at least he's getting a little something from Fat Belly Deli, which he wasn't going to get before. But, listen, inevitably, the problem you're going to have is you're going to have some kind of, conflict, division in the locker room. Is it going to be, if I get $1 million contract with Nike, can I spend any of that money on my teammates? Can I give any of that money to my teammates? Can I take my teammates on vacation? Is that now Nike? You know what I'm saying? Does that matter? I don't even know if that friggin' maybe you can, and why would it matter? I guess I don't know.
If you're a Nike school or a Jordan brand school, can you accept Adidas? Can you accept
no?
Right.
So that was one of the rules. Like you cannot sponsor. You can't go against like.
You can't jump. Yeah,
you can't jump deals. So and so this is what I mean by division though, because like if Ford gives me $500,000 and I'm like, dude, I'll give you guys 10 grand each, like just to go fuck around and do whatever you want with that. If you're in college football, dude, there's like 85 guys on that team. You're not giving it 10 guys, 85 guys, 100 guys, 10 grand. So what happens to the guys that you don't give it to? Are they pissed?
Absolutely.
Listen, that's your problem. Now, in a free market society, I say that's your friggin' problem, right? Elon Musk made billions of dollars between PayPal and SpaceX and Tesla. He's not sharing that. I might be jealous, wish I had what he had, but it's his business to do with what he will. I'm just saying, let's not forget, these are not geniuses and these are not wise older men. These are most of the time teenagers. At best, they're in their early 20s. I hope schools are wise enough, or maybe the NCAA is wise enough, to offer and or demand all college students take some, incoming college freshmen take some kind of, or every year they have to go to some kind of off-season financial seminar on how to handle yourself, or maybe even the NCAA, if they were wise, they would create their own agency that's not associated directly with the NCAA, but it's a separate agency, like an agency, a booking agency for these players, where the players can say, hey, I'm looking to get, and so that they don't get screwed. We don't want teenage boys and girls and early 20s getting screwed because they signed bad contracts. Like the NCAA should do something because they make billions. They should do something. The NFL does this, NBA does this, MLB does this. You should do something to protect your players financially.
Well, considering today's Bobby Bonilla day, he signed a great contract.
That's incredible, right?
So you don't want college kids doing the opposite of that. I understand that, but a lot of universities might put in, their sports management courses and stuff like that. You might be required to take maybe a course as a freshman to maybe guide you through something.
Even if it's not a course, even if it's like a weekend seminar or something like that, like you should they should have to be involved in something.
You have to do something.
Pay attention.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to, because if not, the potential is for damage is really, really bad. So I want to see that happen. So I told you in the beginning of this, there's tentacles to this that I think I was called ridiculous on Instagram, and I'm sorry, it's just not, because if you think it's ridiculous, then you don't understand how these places work. Tell me why this can't creep down into high schools.
Oh, 100%.
It should, right?
Absolutely.
Like there's nothing that says because you're under 18 you don't have earning potential. In fact, you can get a job at 16 in this country, or at least in New Jersey, I should say. You can get a legitimate job at 16.
Especially up here by me with these powerhouse high
schools.
Well,
this is what I said to some. Oh, Timmy and Tommy are going to get money. I said, then if you think it's just Timmy and Tommy from Podunk, Virginia that are like playing football, then you don't know jack shit about high school football. And we could talk about Don Bosco. A lot of times this would be where private schools, but it's not just private schools. So let me bring up private schools. Of course, private schools will benefit from having better athletes come and succeed. Now, will they get tens of thousands of dollars from a local restaurant or dealership? Of course not. But somebody, what are you going to give them? $10, $50? Yeah. You think a high school kid? Yeah, do you know how far $50 can go if you're in high school?
Absolutely.
$100? You say, well, that
gas
doesn't matter
money, what sneakers, whatever the hell it is.
Of course. Now,
absolutely.
You could say I could tell you that it goes beyond private schools. How? Here's how. I'll give you a perfect example. So we're going back a ways now, but like 23 years ago, I started coaching in Midland Park. And at the time, which is in Bergen County, New Jersey, at the time, a year before I started at Midland Park, Glen Rock, which is also a Bergen County town, their varsity football team did not win a game. The next 3 years, that freshman class, however, went undefeated. The next 3 years, and I don't know, for a long time after that, I don't know how they are now, but for a long time after that, Glen Rock was a power for Group 1 football. Like just a power. They were in the playoffs every year, finals almost every, like they were a real genuine power. And you say, well, what does that matter? Well, now athletes stay at Glen Rock as opposed to going to Bergen Catholic or St. Joe's or Don Bosco. Also, I remember this from when I got the job at your old school, Elmwood Park. My principal, one of the principals there, saying, when your football team is good, people move to your town because they assume that it's a good school system. So you say, well, what's the big deal of that? Well, property taxes are a bitch in New Jersey. So every person or every family that moves into town, that's revenue for the city. You think it doesn't matter? And that revenue from the city, portion of that, a pretty significant portion of that property tax, goes to the school system, goes to the Board of Education to pay for the school district. You think it doesn't matter? And of course, they sell tickets, they sell hot dogs, they sell popcorn, they sell T-shirts, they sell a player isn't worthy of making $10, $15, $50, $100. A few years back, Elmwood Park, for the first time in a bazillion years, ended up going to state playoffs back-to-back years and went to the state finals, if I'm not mistaken, the second of the two. Am I correct in that?
I think the semifinals, the quarterback got
semifinals.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That quarterback who brought a team who never even sniffs the playoffs and hasn't since, he couldn't get a little something from
Taste of Italia?
Taste of Italia, right? He couldn't get a little something? Right. Of course he can. And he was of age and earned it. Maybe he gets a little something. That's all. He does a little commercial, or he puts a little ad in the shopper with him in the picture, like, hey, come have a sandwich with Joe Matarazzo or whatever the heck his name was. Doesn't matter his name, right? There's absolutely no legitimate legal argument that a high school kid can't do the same. It just would be smaller numbers. Of course it would be smaller numbers. We're talking thousands of dollars for the school as opposed to millions and billions.
No, I agree.
At the collegiate
100%.
Level. But why can't? It's absurd to think that a high school kid who's a high school athlete who, is successful doesn't bring revenue to his school. That's ridiculous. That's absolutely ridiculous. Even if it's a basketball player, there's a huge difference between a basketball team. When I was in high school, our team was we had a first winning record in like 30 years. You think the stands didn't have more people? They never opened up both sides of the stands. Now when we're seniors, they're opening both sides. And so even at $2 a ticket, which is what it was a million years ago when I played.
Yeah.
If 100 people come, man, it's $2,000. I led the county in 3-pointers. Didn't I deserve a little taste of that?
Right.
You know, you don't get that money if I'm not hitting all the threes or if Sam Poulis isn't scoring 1,000 points. You know, and that's why, I mean, he's a big reason why we were where we were. So it's absurd to think. Now, you'll get people, of course, your initial reaction that you'll get from people is, oh, that's crazy. You can't pay high school. But why not? High school kid can have a job, can he? In fact, the high school kid can have a job while he's playing football. College kid who's on scholarship can't.
I know. It's amazing.
Right?
Yep.
So just be careful. What
domino effect, brother. Yeah,
just
exactly.
Be careful what you're opening. Okay?
Excuse me.
If you're listening to the podcast on Spotify or Anchor or Google Podcasts or wherever you're listening to the podcast, don't forget you can catch us live on YouTube. Usually we do this on Wednesday or Thursday at 4 o'clock, and it works out really well. So if you go to YouTube and the BNR clips, you'll see, you know, we always like to announce ahead of time when we'll be live, but you'll be able to watch us live. But if you can't catch us live on that same channel, BNR clips, you can watch the podcast as we record it. And I actually do like doing that sometimes because I like to see how stupid I look, and I try to not look so stupid in the following weeks. So I cleaned up my head a little bit so I don't look so dumb.
And
anyway.
if you're just joining us, I want to just state one more time that I beat Pete in golf over the weekend, and he's not too happy about it.
So sometimes you got to let these younger guys win to help them build their confidence. And if I'm nothing if not a confidence builder, whether intentionally or unintentionally. The NBA playoffs have been very fun to watch and also somewhat bizarre. And I guess when I say bizarre, it's really the Eastern Conference that has been the most bizarre because, you know, between injuries and just strange play and coaches on the hot seat that are still in the playoffs, I'm baffled by the Eastern Conference. And I'm talking about Coach Bud from Milwaukee. Milwaukee, what's the series? Do they lead the series 2-1 right now?
It's 2-2, my friend.
It's 2-2. And interestingly, Atlanta pulled off a win without their star player, and now Giannis looks. I think he's missing the game tonight.
Yeah, he went down in the third quarter, but the Hawks had that game already in hand.
Yeah.
But yeah, Young's.
But he's not going to play tonight, and they got no excuses.
And is Young questionable? Or is
I don't know. I don't know. I didn't see it before we came on, so I'd have to look. But regardless, Milwaukee has no leg to stand on because, frankly, if you look at Atlanta, who just pulled off a win without their best player, and frankly, that game was out of hand before Giannis got hurt, so you can't even blame him getting hurt for the loss.
And that's why Bud's on the hot seat. Games like that,
which is weird, though, dude. You're in the nuts. Eastern Conference Finals.
I know, but how do you come out and lay an egg like that without their best player?
Shit happens.
Yeah, but listen, if you lose by one, I get it. But dude, you got blown out of your building.
It wasn't a good loss. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to say it's okay, but can we hold off on the firing a guy while he's still in the conference finals?
Yeah, I hear
you. It's a little impulsive, don't you think? I mean, there's still a really good chance that they win this series, and then and the team that goes to the NBA finals and who knows what happens, he deserves to get fired? He took his team further than they've ever been, like, in the last 50 years, and he deserves to get fired? Come on.
And not for nothing.
However you get there, you get there.
Phil Jackson's not walking through that door. Be careful what you wish for. The grass is not always green.
This is what I'm saying. And we're going to get to some hirings in a little while.
We are.
I think you wanted to bring some of those up, and you get a raw reaction from me.
I did.
But I just think that's fascinating. I still am, like, baffled by Atlanta. And I have to give Nate McMillan some credit.
Absolutely.
Because I don't know who their second best player is.
It changes every night.
It changes every night, and their best player is 5'11" and wasn't even playing last night, and or the night before, and they win. It's just amazing to me. It's just absolutely amazing to me. It's one of those things where, like, I started the playoffs kind of just expecting Atlanta to disappear very quickly. I actually thought the Knicks would win that series. I just thought defensively they were just going to shut them down because I didn't think Atlanta had a lot on the offensive end. And then I was like, well, this won't last. But they're interesting. Like, they kind of piqued my interest. I was like, ooh, this is kind of interesting. and then they beat the Sixers, and now it's like I'm almost kind of rooting for them. Like I don't want to say come full circle because I wasn't rooting for them to lose, but I've come a long way, and where now it's like I find myself kind of like, oh, good shot. Like I'm like surprisingly almost rooting for them because there's not this like they're not this star-driven team, and even their star when he is playing is young. I mean, it was third year. Yeah, third year in the league. So it's fun. It's fun to watch them play. The energy that they play with is really impressive. And we'll see. I still think Milwaukee wins the series. And then who knows what happens in the finals, but
we made a statement last week.
I know.
Before we made our predictions, like we got to stop counting them out. We're still counting them out. Giannis is out. Who knows how long? We're still counting them out. Like it's unbelievable.
I can't help myself. It's unbelievable. I can't help myself.
I'm with you. It's funny.
If Trae Young isn't playing, then I'm against him even more because I just don't know who that consistent player is, and it's hard to continually rely on somebody, not someone specific. You know, so I just think that kind of thing runs its course. I think you can rally for one game, or 1 or 2 games, but I just think it's hard to keep that kind of thing going. But we'll see if Trae Young plays. I wouldn't be surprised if he played. You know, he's young, not just his name. So you think they bounce back quicker from injuries and stuff like that. So we'll see. But the Western Conference Finals are over as of now, as of this broadcast. And the Phoenix Suns advanced. They went 4-2?
They did.
It was 4-2. And this was, to me, a tale of two Pauls. We have Chris Paul and we have Paul George. Oh, you like that? You like that? I might use that as the title of this episode.
I like
it. A tale of two Pauls. I do this almost on a weekly basis now. I am going to pat us on the back once again ahead of the goddamn curve, saying truth, saying fact, saying reality before everybody else. We did our show last week and did a little list of They Are Who They Are, right? They Are Who They Are team. And number one on both of our lists for both of us was Paul George. I think the next night he shit the bed and had like a bad game. I think he went like 5 for 20. Yeah. And I was like, see, that's kind of who he is.
Missed free throws down the stretch.
Missed free throws, missed shots, no points in the last 5 minutes of the game. And then the next game, he goes out and scores 41, 10 rebounds, 10 or 12 rebounds, 8 assists. And then everyone everywhere on anywhere you looked and anything you listened to, see, all the criticism of Paul George is unfair. He is a bona fide superstar. And I said, you people with your recency bias, it's unfriggin' believable. But Scott, thankfully, you and I didn't have to wait very long for Mr. George to show us exactly who he is. Because last night, he goes for 21 points, which is not a bad night. 21 points, not a bad night. But it's on 5 of 15 shooting and 1 for 8 from 3 in an elimination game.
Yep.
And you just are who you are, dude. He is a really, really nice number 2. He's Chris Middleton. He's CJ McCollum. Frankly, Chris Middleton has been more clutch in these playoffs this year.
Yes.
Especially down the stretch of games, which I admit I'm kind of surprised at. I'm not a Chris Middleton guy. I wouldn't want Chris Middleton being the star of my team, but boy, he's way more clutch than Paul George down, at least as of now, down the stretch than Paul George is.
And he's younger.
For sure. He's a weird-looking dude, but who cares?
He's a weird-looking dude, yeah.
He has play some ball.
He has a little raptor look to him or something. I don't know.
He's got some eye things going on there. So, once again, we're ahead. In fact, it was Chris Broussard. Chris Broussard came out the day before Paul George goes for 41, or I should say the day of, but he did this right before the game, earlier in the day, and he says, Paul George just is who he is. And I'm like, holy shit, was he listening to the podcast? I think Chris Broussard, and Chris, if you're listening, thanks for watching and listening, pal. We appreciate it. We'll help you out every week. Don't worry about it. All you got to do is watch us and just repeat it, and you'll look like a goddamn genius. He said, he is who he is. One night he can give you 35, and the next night he can give you 18. That's all we're saying. We're not saying he sucks. We're just saying that's kind of how it is, man.
That's his game. Yep.
I think the best word for it is just unreliable. That's all. Really, really, really good player. Unreliable as a star. Unreliable as a superstar. Because, can you lay an egg once in a while? Like once a month, twice a month? Can you kind of throw 15? Absolutely. Absolutely. Michael Jordan never did that, but that's a different stratosphere. Like Giannis does that sometimes. He'll just score 18 points. It happens, but it's rare. Okay, it's very rare. For Paul George, it's almost like every other game.
And he's out of options, I think, because what other guy do you want to put him with, superstar wise? Like, you're in the perfect situation to be good, and you're good. You're just not great.
And what's interesting about that is that the guy that he is paired with right now is unavailable as often as Paul George is unreliable. Right?
Yeah.
So like 30% of the time, Paul George is unreliable, and 30% of the time, Kawhi Leonard is not on the court. But when he is, he's great. He doesn't lay eggs like
no,
Paul
Kawhi's
George
no joke. Yeah.
Just not available.
But when we found out this year or a couple weeks ago that this is why they load manage him, because the knees are just they're not going to last.
But is that why you think? That's why this happens?
I think they said he's got a chronic knee thing now is what they're saying. Not as bad as Brandon Roy. I remember Brandon Roy with the Blazers years back.
Yes.
When they drafted him, they said, oh, he's not going to last. He's going to be great for about 5 years, and then it's going to fall off a cliff. Yep. And that's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
Kawhi's not up at that point, but that's why they say he sits a lot of games out, because I think it gets a little.
So he has some kind of chronic knee trouble. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It just.
And he still.
Yet you want top dollar. He still wants top dollar. And you start. You do have to start to wonder: is it worth it? Do you go in a different direction? And the interesting is, if you're the Lakers, you could say, yeah, we'll go in a different direction because everybody wants to be a Laker. You're the Clippers, and you're like, who the fuck wants to be a Clipper? Like, it wouldn't be a bad idea to be a Clipper right now with Paul George and Kawhi there. But if Kawhi leaves, it's like, well, who the hell wants to be a Clipper?
Exactly.
So it's a difference in organizations, right? Like, who are you playing for? It makes all the difference in the world. I will say this also, Ty Lue, I have a totally newfound respect for him as a coach. He did tremendous, and most of it down the stretch here was without Kawhi Leonard. And the fact that they were even viable and anyone thought that they could win a series against Phoenix, pretty goddamn amazing. Yeah,
you got to tip your hat there, because I thought, like we talked about, it was a lot of LeBron, Bosh, or whoever he coached him, and then not Bosh. Kyrie, right? In Cleveland? Was Kyrie there when he?
Yeah, Kyrie was in Cleveland.
Kyrie, yeah. And you know what? The adjustments we talked about he made, and
yes.
And when your star out and your second best player inconsistent.
Yes.
Yeah, you know what?
That's why I was impressed, because we talk about the genius of coaches, and I think the reason that Bill Parcells gets the kind of recognition that he does, even though he only won 2 championships, because there's been multiple coaches who won 2, is because he won one of them with Jeff Hostetler. Okay, you won one of them with your backup quarterback. And that's why sometimes people have questions about the genius, or I'll say I have questions about the genius of Bill Belichick, or I have questions about the genius of Phil Jackson. Because Bill Belichick's record, when he doesn't have Tom Brady as his quarterback, is meh at best. Okay, he got fired in Cleveland, and things were not going in a great direction with New England, okay, until Tom Brady jumped in. And you could say Phil Jackson also. Phil Jackson was literally coaching basketball in a cage in Puerto Rico.
That guy?
Who's that there?
That's Tom Brady.
I can't see it. Is it Tom Brady? I can't see it from here. Phil Jackson was literally coaching basketball in a cage in Puerto Rico, because they have to put like fencing up so that people can't throw beer bottles onto the court. When he got a chance, no, this is no shit. Go read his book. It's an amazing story. I don't know what would possess. Like, I enjoyed coaching. I loved coaching, but once your life is in your hands, man, like it just becomes like owners of these Puerto Rican teams like brought guns to games, firing guns. It's go read the book. Go read Phil Jackson's book.
It's like playing golf in Newark.
But it doesn't suck that your career coaching in the NBA exists with the likes of Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, who coach Rodman, like, and then you go to the Lakers and it's
Kobe,
Shaq and
Robert
Kobe,
Horry,
both in their prime. Like, no, I'm not trying to say. Listen, there's a skill involved in managing superstars. Make no mistake, okay? Because Kobe and Shaq were together before Phil got there, and they didn't win. So I get that. I'm just saying, like, you can ask questions. He wasn't coaching like this Knicks team to championships. Okay, then I'd be really impressed. And that's why Ty Lue really does impress me, and frankly, Nate McMillan really does impress me.
Sure.
Because of what they're doing with what they have. It's just impressive. Now, can they in time carry those teams across the finish line? I have no idea. Ty Lue has shown us that he can, but that was with LeBron. It just is what it is, man. You're going to get tagged with that. Vogel with the Lakers, does he get a lot of credit when you got
no,
LeBron and AD there last year? You don't get a lot of credit, dude, because you were a moron before that. So, which is unfair. I don't think he's a moron. I'm just saying, like, it's hard to get credit for that.
And that's one of the greatest things about being a sports fan is just riding a hot streak and momentum. This Hawks team, you don't know next year. They might get out of the gate stinky, but right now it's fun to watch.
It wouldn't surprise me.
No,
it's totally in their head that they believe they're a winning basketball team.
And it goes that way most of the time.
It's a beautiful thing to watch.
Yeah.
It goes with them every game, and it goes with them the entire game. Like, it just the intensity with which they play. It's just a beautiful thing to see because they're not anywhere. They're not the fourth most talented team in the league right now, and they're one of 4 teams left. So it's
2 wins away from going to a championship.
Incredible. It's incredible.
Nuts.
So the other Paul in the tale of 2 Pauls is Chris Paul, who you kind of even laughed at me a little bit a couple weeks ago when I said he's not the MVP, but he might be the MIP, the most important player. What a difference. He, who doesn't normally score a ton of points, goes out and scores 41 and leads his team to victory to put it in a book against the Clippers in LA, oh, by the way, which was impressive. And now this is another example of the opposite. Who's the coach there in Phoenix?
Monty Williams?
Monty Williams. I'm not trying to take anything away from Monty Williams, but the difference here right now is Chris Paul. And this is just the way it goes, dude. You get credit sometimes, but you don't get credit other times.
Do you know why they gel so much? Which I just found this out. I forgot he coached him in New Orleans. No, he coached him in New Orleans.
Oh, he coached him. Okay.
Or Charlotte, wherever Pelicans were. I don't know what the hell.
Yeah.
But I forgot
it's
about
hard
that.
It's hard to give Monty Williams as much credit here because you just watch the games.
But he gets some, though, for sure.
He gets some. No. I'm not trying. I don't mean it like that. Yeah. I just mean he doesn't get the Ty Lue credit. He doesn't get the Nate credit.
Yeah.
Because of what they were doing it with, and Nate's still doing it with. This is a tale of Chris Paul because this is a team, same team, missed the playoffs by like a game or 2 last year. Even though they won the last 8 games of the season, that should not go unrecognized. 8 or 9 games, whatever the heck it was. This team is where they are because of Chris Paul. I mean, it's just he's the most important player. The funny thing is they won 2 games in the beginning of the series and they won without him. I don't know that they would have won the series without him. You can rally when your superstar isn't there. Friggin' the Lakers had a winning record with LeBron not there this year. They would not have been a winning team if he wasn't there the whole year.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So there's a difference of like rallying.
Small sample size. Yeah.
Yeah. There's a rally in the short term, but in the long term, they're not going to be able to pull that off. I just think Chris Paul has validated his career, which it needed some validating, but not a ton. He's validating his career with the run that he's on with the Suns. It's amazing. At 36 years old.
Would you say they're the favorite no matter who comes out of the East?
I don't know about that. I mean, we're going to laugh about this, but of course they're the favorite against the Hawks, right? It's so funny. So stupid. But of course they're the favorite against the Hawks. I don't know if they're favorite against Milwaukee. Because I think Milwaukee would they have home court?
I have no idea. I think they would.
Yeah, I don't know. I would think whoever has home court advantage in that series would probably.
Well, who was the one in the
favorite.
West? Was it the Jazz, and then there was the Suns?
Jazz were the 1, and the Suns were 2. Denver 3.
I think the Suns might have it.
Okay. Well, but it's record, not seeding.
No, but it's true because it was Sixers, Nets, and then Bucks, right? So but you're right, it's on record.
The likelihood is that they had a better record then.
Yeah.
Because the West is more difficult. Barely. I don't think it's as much more difficult.
It's deeper. It's deeper.
But
I think East is better.
It's deeper.
I think. Yeah.
I think you're probably right. So I'm blown away. I'm blown away by Chris Paul. Listen, I thought they were crazy for making the trade. 36. I got to be honest. Yeah, I got to be totally honest. I'm like, why would you do that? And you got to give them some credit for bringing him in. And this is what I mean by validating his career. He's been kind of known as a hard player, but also like hard to get along with, yells at teammates. Stubborn, I personally have just like, pain in the ass kind of guy. I personally have no problem with that. I personally have no problem with teammates like that. I like leaders. Leaders are supposed to get on the rest of their team. I don't care. That's just the way it's supposed to be. But it just looks like in this NBA that doesn't work, except it does work on this team. And the other thing is, I love Phoenix because they go against the grain so much in this league. The NBA has become a league of no positions. You got LeBron James is kind of a point guard. He's kind of a shooting guard. He's kind of a forward. He's kind of like you got centers shooting threes. Trae Young is a point guard, but he shoots a lot.
Ben Simmons doesn't want to shoot at all. He's 6'10".
Ben's 6'11", but he's a point guard, but I can't shoot. It's a league. It's a position. It's become a positionless league. It's like you either you shoot threes or you don't do anything. And there's no team in the NBA right now that has more defined positions for each of their players.
You're right.
Than the Phoenix Suns. I look at Ayton and I'm like, dude, that's Robert Parrish. That's totally Robert Parrish.
Yeah, he's good player.
Son of a bitch had 17 or 18 rebounds the other last night or the night before.
Yeah, he's developed nice under Monty Williams, man. Oh my god!
And what I love about Ayton is he totally gives the credit to Chris Paul, Chris Paul's leadership, for pushing me and making me do these things, guiding me to being the kind of player that I am, dude. And he's a legitimate offensive threat with this little baby jump hook kind of thing he's got going on.
So maybe it was one of those things with Chris Paul too. Like he just got a little bit more mature, maybe eased off the gas pedal a little bit, and then maybe at 30 it kind of clicked now. And then you get the right teammates. Like Booker's under his wing. Like Booker's, we talked last week. He's going to be a tremendous player for the next 10 years too. Yeah. Like they got the campaign, the backup guard to him. He's an unbelievable backup. I mean, he went down with it. I think he missed a game or two, too. But, dude, the Suns it's kind of like the Hawks. They just click.
Talk about Cameron Payne?
Cameron Payne, yeah.
Yeah, love him. There's a kid who literally came off the scrap heap.
I know.
He gave him a 10-day contract, and now he's one of their better. So there's a guy that's easy to root for. Because the perseverance, man, to go play in the G League and go play in this and go. And getting these 10-day call-ups.
Who does he play like? Chris Paul.
He plays, which is smart.
It's amazing.
Right? I just find it fascinating that in a league of positionless players, this team has clearly defined position, and I love it. I absolutely love it. Just when you hear them saying, "Well, this is the new NBA," really?
Yeah.
And as always, trends are created by the winners, right? So now next year you'll see teams have teams have clearly defined position players. They go against everything that it says to do with analytics. They don't shoot a bunch of only threes.
I was just going to say
play hard defense. Yeah. They get the ball into the post.
And we talk baseball, the analytics. It takes one team to go back to a hit and run, bunt over, and they win, and then all of a sudden. So I know. You're right. I love it too. It's a little bit nostalgic. It's nice to see. It's nice to see a 6'11" guy who's back to the basket, rebounding the ball. Beautiful. Yeah, will he shoot a 3 or 2? Yeah, 1 or 2 is fine, but you don't want him going 2 for 9. Yeah. You see Brook Lopez shooting. He wants to sit around the 3-point line.
I know. It's just easier, man. It's not as hard to work. It's just not as hard to work. So, And interestingly, when Giannis is not shooting threes and he's only doing what he's good at, which is like taking the ball to the hole, staying close to the rim, they tend to win games. When he's jacking up threes and throwing up air balls, they don't win. It's just, positionless sounds great if you're a guy who can do it, and if you can't, then don't do it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Then just don't friggin' do it. So, you just mentioned baseball, and I know you want to get to NBA coaching, so I want to do that first. But the Yankees, Coach Boone went off. Was it yesterday? Because he's basically like, we suck. We need to start kicking some ass. You need to get off the analytics, man. This is a major problem.
This is bad.
This is a major problem. And we talked about the Spider Tech too, and now the closer, they're like, oh, let's trade him. I heard people talking today with Aroldis Chapman, like, oh, we got to trade him. Guy can't find a strike to save his life, and I can only assume it has to do with the Spider Tech.
It's been about 13 appearances. And if you go back to the calendar, it looks around about that
time's up almost exactly.
And you see him on the mound. He is a soaking wet mop, bro. He needs Rosin's not soaking that hand up, dude. What are you, nuts? Like,
did you ever use a rosin bag?
I have. Yeah.
Does it give you some decent grip?
A little bit. It's like powder. Like it's like the other day playing golf with us. We're like, I could use some powder for the glove hand. Like it's a little slimy.
Yeah.
It helps. Yeah. It helps. But like the Spider Tech thing, obviously you saw it. It's like fucking glue.
Yeah. That's very different. Yeah.
It's different.
But we'll do some Yankees maybe next week. You wanted to do some coaching?
Yeah, I want to jump on some coaches with you. So our friend Jason Kidd, that we've been hitting on a little bit last couple of weeks, he got hired by the Dallas Mavericks. Won a title there, I think, with Dirk a couple years back. I'm gonna have trouble with this name. Bjorgren to the Pacers. It's a silent B or something. I don't know. He's got hired by the Pacers. No, not the Pacers. Not Pacers. Carlisle's at the Pacers, right? Where'd this guy go? Did he leave the Pacers?
I have no idea.
I don't either. I don't know who that is. That's my bad out of me. Billups to the Blazers, who you liked. You were high on him.
I am.
So the Magic, the Wizards, and the Pelicans jobs are still open.
I'm still listening. Go ahead. So
the question that I wanted to ask you live and to get your raw reaction to. So Becky Hammond's name has been in the news. She's been a high assistant under Popovich for a couple of years now, and they thought maybe she was going to be the first female to be hired. Is this the year? If it doesn't happen, do you think it's ever going to happen?
I don't know. I don't know.
A lot of jobs, more. There's 7-8 job openings. She's been high on the list. She's been on several interviews. I mean,
okay. Well, this is what I'm getting at. Has she been high on the list, or are organizations afraid not to at least give her an interview? Don't you want to be the two? Well, we talked to her, but
Blazers
in the end, we felt most comfortable. Go ahead.
Blazers gave her 2. I know that for a fact.
And
I know. Listen, I only could go by what we're hearing on the news.
Will someone eventually? Sure.
Do you think this is kind of like the Rooney Rule in the NFL?
No. Why should it be? Why should it be?
Well,
there's a WNBA. The Rooney Rule is in place for race, and
this is gender.
It's not like there's a separate league for black athletes. There is another league. There is a league where women play basketball, professional basketball.
I get that.
I'm sure hold on. I'm just saying. I'm sure she'd get hired in 30 seconds if she applied for a WNBA job, which I don't necessarily think is a bad idea. How many years has she been a head coach?
Right. 0.
None. So maybe if she had some head coaching experience along with her years of coaching under Popovich,
she wins in the WNBA and they give her a shot in the NBA.
Maybe. I don't know.
But why waste your
time? I gotta be honest with you.
But it's got to be somewhat serious, though, Pete, right? Why would you waste your time?
I don't know that.
On 2 interviews.
Who cares? I think in this culture that we're in, you have to do what you do. You have to do what you have to do to keep the vultures at bay. And if you don't give her an interview, you're going to catch shit from someplace or another.
Well, that's exactly what I was trying to compare it to the Rooney Rule, because like a couple years ago, there was a couple black guys got hired this year in the NFL, but a couple back in the day,
and a Muslim.
nobody got interviewed, and people were freaking out.
I get
now
the
I think if they give a female an opportunity, if they interview her,
there's a place for her to coach.
Yeah, but
they don't let WNBA players. They don't let WNBA players try out for NBA teams. Is that the next step?
Oh, no.
Okay.
I don't think so.
So there is a place for her to coach if her goal was just to be a head coach. There's a place for her to coach that she'd get hired in 5 seconds. She wouldn't even be on the list for longer than 5 seconds if she wanted to be a head coach. If her goal was to be a head coach, or is her goal to break barriers? So if your goal is to break barriers, I'm under no obligation to hire you. Okay, I don't know that I want. I'm just being honest here. I don't know that I want a woman coaching a dozen alpha males. I just don't know it. Now, I can't speak to Becky Hammon. I never met her. I've never seen her coach in person. I don't know how she handles those situations. What I do know is she's never had to handle it without a head coach, a male head coach also being present.
Same head coach, yeah. I know.
Okay? So it's easy to say she's handled these guys before. She's never handled it on her own.
Whoa, easy what you say. Easy the word.
In basketball.
Oh, attaboy.
She's always had the backing of Popovich.
Yes.
So Popovich lays down the law and says, you break her chops, you're dealing with me. Right. If she's the head coach, there is none of that.
Yeah.
So
there's no buffer.
I just don't see the rush. Why would you do it? Just to say that you hired a woman? Is she more qualified than, say, Chauncey Billups, who played in the NBA, is an all-star, has been part of a champion? Is she more qualified than Sam Cassell? Is she more qualified than Ike Akabuko or whatever? Udoka, who got the job? These guys played in the NBA. Now, you want to say she's more qualified than Budenholzer for Milwaukee? Okay, that guy's been an NBA Coach of the Year twice. You're more qualified than him? He's in the conference finals right now. Or what are we talking about? Again, I don't know how good a coach she is. I can't sit here and tell you she sucks or is great. I don't know. I sit here and I say, for what? Right. Why are you doing it? Because you really think she's the best candidate? Or if you did hire her, are you doing it?
Or are you just trying to fill a box? That's are
you just trying to check off
a box? Check a box.
Yeah. And say, oh, look at us. We're woke. We're with it. We're modern. Okay. That's your business. I don't care if somebody does. You won't see me protesting if somebody does. I could care less. That's your team, your business. You do what you got to do. I'm just saying, if you're asking me, I'm just saying, why? Are you short on quality candidates that played in the NBA or have been around the NBA for a long time? That you're going to say she's more qualified than all? Tell me who she's more qualified than that's been in this round of coaching candidates. Candidates. Is she more qualified than Jason Kidd, who I don't like, but I'm just saying, is she more qualified than him?
Right.
Is there someone who can tell me she's more qualified than Chauncey Billups?
How about? Yeah, because even the guys who got fired, Scott Brooks is more qualified, and Fizdale, I guess,
played in the NBA. He's been a successful NBA coach. Yeah. Isn't Scott Brooks the coach who took Oklahoma City to the finals against Miami?
Yes.
Yeah, guy's been to the NBA finals.
Yes.
Coach Kevin Durant, Coach James Harden, Coach Russell Westbrook. What are we talking about? Who is she more qualified than?
Well, you know what, man? That's how you get qualified. I mean, just because she's a female, I mean, that's how, you're an assistant for how many years, but I'm just saying, why? I understand what you're saying.
What makes her more qualified? She's never played in the NBA. And what, because she's been an assistant? You know how many guys have been an assistant in the NBA that didn't get head coaching jobs?
Fun.
What the hell are we talking about here? The only reason we're even discussing is because she's a woman, not because she's the best. Exactly. Anyone who says otherwise, they have no idea what they're talking about. They have never seen Becky Hammon in action without Popovich having her back.
I think you made the best point. I think if she wants to coach that bad, you start in the WNBA or a women's college job. And then you see where you
Oh
go
my
from
God!
there.
If she went to women's college, she'd get. In fact, I think that would be a better gig than going to the WNBA because I think she'd get paid out the ass in college basketball. Because women's college basketball is actually a real thing. WNBA, I mean, I don't know what their ratings are, but
it's not great.
When you're competing with CNN for ratings, that's a problem. So, like, I think you actually would make more money if she wanted to be the new head coach of like Connecticut or something like that. Oh my God, I think she'd get paid.
Oh, dude, if she
huge.
could go for Oriana, holy shit! Yeah, I know.
So, what's your goal? I asked this to her. Do you want to break barriers? Is that what you're doing, or are you trying to do the best job you could do? You want to be a head coach, and besides, wouldn't you, as a woman, as a female coach, wouldn't you want to lead other women to help them become the best they can be? I don't know. I don't have a problem with it. If you want to hire her, that's your business. I am not here to tell you it's wrong because I don't know her. Just like I can't tell you if hiring Chauncey Billups is wrong, if hiring the gentleman that we just mentioned because his name is difficult for the Celtics. I don't know. I hear good things about him, but I don't know. I'll let you know a year from now. My point is just I don't understand. Why would I hire her? Just because she's a woman? I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that.
Well, I mean, I think it's getting closer. I'll tell you that.
Because I just think I think it's getting closer to it, and I think it probably will happen. I'm just asking you, why are you doing it?
Yeah.
Is she really your best candidate? Like, if she was a man, would she be your best candidate? Having never played in the NBA, having zero head coaching experience on any level. She has zero head coaching experience on any level. Is that who you would hire? Would you hire a person like that to coach in your league?
Well, just to play devil's advocate on you, Udoka didn't have any head coaching experience anywhere, right?
No, but he played for 12 years in the NBA.
Yeah.
There's a difference.
And he can relate. And you're assuming he can relate to the players obviously better than she can.
Of course.
Yeah.
He's a black man who plays in a predominantly black NBA. Like, of course he can relate. Even if here's what I'll tell you about that. Even if she's a better coach than he is, which maybe she is, I don't know. She has in no way can relate to these players as well as he can. And in this NBA, that might be more important. Being relatable to the players might be more important than your actual coaching ability. So even on that level, it's a no-brainer to me. Again, I pointed out a week or two ago the 4 coaches that were left in the final, in the Eastern and Western Conference Finals. 3 of them black, all 3 of them former players.
Yeah.
Why? Because players that you can't say to like these guys, you don't know what you're talking about. You might be able to say it to Budenholzer or however you say his name, but like you might be able to say it to him. But you can't say it to Monty Williams. You can't say it to Nate McMillan. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't say it to these guys. So, you can't say it to Ty Lue. These guys are real NBA players. You can absolutely – you don't think a pissed-off player, Dame Lillard couldn't possibly, in the heat of the battle – and he's a good dude, but in the heat of the battle, turn to her and say, what the fuck do you know about it? How many games you play in the NBA? How many games you win in the NBA?
Yeah.
I mean, this happens at the high school level, never mind an NBA level. So
Yep.
Would I take the risk? Probably not. Now, who was the coach of the Tennessee women's team back in the day? Now, Pat Summitt might be a different case. Why? Incredible head coaching experience.
Resume,
right?
Yeah.
The resume is there. And you can set – now, she could walk into a locker room and say to every one of those players, how many championships you got? Because I got like 6.
Right.
Do you want to win a championship like me? That's just a different – it's a different vibe. It's just a different run. It's a way different Now, I think Becky Hammonds might have him as a player or like – I'm not trying to take away from Becky Hammonds. I'm just saying –
No, I get it. It's a different animal. It is. It's
just – it's all part of it, dude. I look at it and I see the NFL is doing this, right? The NFL now has a handful of female football coaches. They're assistants. they're, I don't want to say low level. I think this year is the first year we actually have a position coach that's a female. I just think that's a tough sell for a guy who's making $6 million and a woman who's never even played the game at the high school level.
Yeah, football's different for me.
This is where Adam Gase lost. Adam Gase lost a lot of respect from players because he never even played in college, or if he did, he was like a backup his entire career. Never like played. He might have been on a team, but he never played. Like the last action he had was in high school. It's like, who the hell are you? And you suck. Like those women in coaching in the NFL, you never played the game, so like you have no reference point to talk about certain things.
Yeah.
Other than what you've seen. It's not based on anything that you've done. It's not to say that there aren't men working in the NFL who have no football experience, but most of those guys are numbers crunchers, your Howie Rosemans and stuff like that. They're in the front office. They're not in the trenches with the players. There's a massive, take it from me, okay? Please, if you're listening, take it from me as a former head coach, high school head coach. There's a massive difference between being the athletic director in a high school level and being a head coach of a team. You can be an athletic director with zero coaching experience, frankly, zero playing experience in a high school. You can't do that, like, and really have a likelihood of being successful as a coach. It's just a problem. So would I hire her? I would never say something like, I absolutely wouldn't hire her because she's a woman. I wouldn't say that, but man, I just think that's a heavy haul to considering who are recent candidates in the NBA. I just don't know how you say you're a better candidate than Chauncey Billups, Jason Kidd, any of these guys. I just don't know how you do that. I don't know how you do it. And in the future, moving forward, there are only going to be more former players.
Yeah, that'll look forgotten.
Yeah, the NBA is actually more so than other sports. Well, maybe not more than baseball, but definitely more than football. Is littered with like former elite level players, like maybe not the superstars, but real players as head coaches.
Yeah, definitely.
You know what I mean? So to break into that, I just think it's tough. I don't know that I would do that. So anyway, that's a very long-winded.
No, that's why I asked you the question, because I want to see from all angles.
Well, because it's complicated. I'm not trying to make this into like an anti-woman.
No, you
are different. Way. Listen, the reality is we are different, and we look at things differently, and just the relatability problem is a problem. Do I think she knows basketball? I have no doubts whatsoever of her basketball acumen. I don't think that Popovich would have kept her on all these years if she didn't know the game and didn't have a technical ability and fundamentals and all that. I have no doubt of her basketball acumen and basketball knowledge. But that's a very small part of being a great head coach. It really is. If that were the case, Popovich would still be winning games, and he's not. You have to be able to handle big-time personalities, angry alpha males when they lose, or what's worse is you have to deal with discontent alpha males because they lose a lot. Because that's where she'll end up getting hired. She'll end up getting hired by by the Pistons.
A low level, the Magic
who won 22 games the year before, and now you're going to have to motivate those guys to play back. I just think it's a tough sell. So, I think in the WNBA, I think in college basketball, I think she'd probably be instantaneously a winner.
Yeah,
I mean, instantaneously, because then the opposite is the case. She gets to say, I've been an assistant coach in the NBA, playing with the best basketball players on the planet. What have you done?
Yeah.
Like, do you see how the difference in credibility comes in?
Absolutely, yeah. Flips on its ass. So
that's all. Yeah. It's not about her being a woman. I mean, I'd have as much of a difficult time breaking into the NBA as well, because my basketball history isn't commensurate with other head basketball coaches in the NBA. So,
gotcha. Thank you for the honest answer.
Yeah, it is what it is. People can disagree, and if you disagree, you should absolutely let us know. Talk to us on Instagram at Bump and Run Cast. Leave comments when we post when we have posts up there. Also, with any of the YouTube videos, if you leave a comment, that gets sent directly to my inbox, so we'll be able to reply, of course. Also, don't forget, you can listen to us on Spotify, on the Anchor app, on Google Podcasts. But if you do happen to listen to us on Anchor, which I think is actually a growing platform, growing very quickly, the one cool thing about listening on the Anchor app is that you can leave us a voice message. And we have had a couple, and then we do use those voice messages on the podcast sometimes. If they're of any kind of quality whatsoever, we'll get you on here. So if you want to leave us a voice message, jump in on the Anchor app, which is also a very good way, and frankly, a smoother way to listen to the podcast than Spotify. I got to be honest with you, and I got no problem. I'm not trying to say don't listen on Spotify, but when I listen on Spotify, sometimes it's hit or miss. It's not always great. But when I listen on the Anchor app, clean as a whistle every time, works great, zero problems. So
I have a feeling, I don't know if you have the same feeling as I do, but I think when football season comes around, I think we're going to have a lot more voice messages. I think we're going to have some people.
We shall see.
Dialed in.
We shall see. Football does bring out the anger in people, and that's when the voice messages will start to come through. So we have our NFC West preview. And before we even get to the teams, I just want to say, I think without a doubt, this is the best division in football. Would you agree with that?
I would agree with that.
And the problem that the best division in football has is that there's a really good possibility or maybe even probability of them kind of like eating their own. Like they beat the shit out of each other so badly.
Yeah.
Like, you think about it, if you're the Rams and they have, I'm assuming they have really high expectations this year now that they have what the hell's his name?
Jared Goff.
No. They got rid of Jared.
Matt Stafford.
They have Matt Stafford. I'm sure they have very high expectations, but when you have to play San Francisco twice, the Seahawks twice, and now what would appear to be an improved Arizona Cardinals team twice, that's 6 really difficult games before you even get out of the division. Like really difficult games. None of those are it's not like any of those games are like, playing the Jets. So, it's amazing to me, this division, how good it is. From top to bottom, incredible. I mean, the worst team in the division last year was Arizona. They were 8-8. Worst team. Weren't they 8-8 last year?
Niners were 6-10.
I said Cardinals. Oh, the Niners were 6-10, but they lost Garoppolo. They lost Garoppolo.
They weren't. Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
I almost don't count that. So let's start off with the Rams here. No, I just mean I don't count it. Any team who loses their starting quarterback, your season is lost. I mean, it's very, very rare where it doesn't go the other way. The Rams this year, obviously, we just mentioned they signed Matt Stafford. They also signed Deshaun Jackson. I'm reluctant to make a big deal over Deshaun Jackson signing only because he has the Kawhi Leonard disease, which is rarely available. So very frail, rarely available, aging, although at his age still flies like the wind, which is friggin' amazing. And that is one thing that they have been lacking a little bit is like that fast, deep, major, serious, deep threat. So we'll see how much, that affects him. They lost Goff. They lost John Johnson, which was a starting safety, will probably be a bigger deal than we realize because it doesn't sound like a big deal, but you're losing your starting safety is probably going to matter. And they also lost their tight end, Gerald Everett, in division, by the way. They lost them to Seattle, which is fascinating. That's one more weapon so that ought to be interesting. The biggest draft now. Listen, this is a team who has traded away draft picks for already established players. So I think their first pick was in the second round, and they picked up, frankly, a Deshaun Jackson clone, Tutu Atwell from Louisville. This guy weighs about 150 pounds, man, but dude, he is quick, very skinny. But quick, I mean, just flat out fast, like straight away speed, but then also that scatty kind of thing. Shifty. We'll see. Yeah, we'll see how he lasts in the NFL at that size. I don't know.
Yeah, McVay loved Stafford early. You could hear him gushing about him. Their run game emerged late last year with Cam Akers. They got a little run game going, which is going to help everybody tremendously. Would you agree? Top 5 defense, top 7 defense. They got the best.
They were top 5 defense last year.
They got the best defensive player in the league, and then they got a top corner.
Absolutely.
Like you said, we'll see if the safety hurts him or not. Especially a division that throws the ball a lot. So we'll see.
See, the problem with the Rams, starting talent is elite. Like, their starting talent is elite. But because they traded away so many draft picks, so many top draft picks for stars, they're very top heavy. Yeah. So when you get past their starting 22, it gets really, really thin, really, really fast.
Yep.
So if they're healthy most of the season, or if they're mostly healthy all of the season, they should expect some good things. But man, just one or two, not even star injuries, just like one or two starter injuries could be a major problem because they are super, super thin. And the other thing, you just mentioned something about how McVay has just been talking up Matthew Stafford. I guess he didn't go to the Lou Holtz school of coaching, where like you make all of your opponents out to be the greatest. I remember Lou Holtz talking about Navy, which at the time Navy was just awful.
Yeah,
talking about he's one of the best Navy teams we've ever seen play football on a football field. They're just loaded with talent, and it's going to be really tough for us to get out of there with a victory. Like that
they
was
put
Lou
their pace
Holtz.
on same way we do.
Yeah, and here's McVay just chirping up. It's almost like he's drunk when he's talking. He doesn't know enough to like keep his mouth shut a little bit. He's saying too much.
They're going on vacation together. Oh, put your pants on, Sean.
Dude, you better not come out of the box slow. So here's the schedule. Home against the Bears, which should be a win, but you don't know because they got a really good defense, and it'll be Stafford's first start under this new regime. And they go at Colts, Tampa at home, Cardinals at home, at Seattle. And I'm sure you have a deeper look at this. I look at the first 5 games because I always look to see like what kind of tone are you setting in the beginning, and that usually carries you a long way throughout the season. Are you digging out of a hole, or are you playing from a place of momentum?
Right.
And I got to be honest with you, I don't see a lot of momentum in the beginning of that schedule. That would be impressive. If they were to come out of that 3-2 out of those first 5 games, I'd become an instant believer.
Yeah, because then they got at the Giants, which is a winnable game. Then Lions home at Texans, so you could probably savage those 3 games too after that. And then you're rolling,
Right. So I just think that's a really difficult start to the season. Now, if they start 2-3, it's not to say the season's over because you just mentioned 3 straight winnable games. You could, if you did win 3 in a row, you're 5-3 and you're feeling okay. But momentum is a bitch. 2-3, you start to press. You know what I mean? You got 0-1. Nobody's pressing after 0-1. You start off 2-3. God forbid it's 1-4. You're pressing, especially McVay's pressing.
And like you said, and it's the games. It depends who you lose to too. It's like
absolutely. Because then if you go to
start the division,
you say you're even your own players say we're not, maybe we're not as good as we thought we were. And you don't want that creeping into someone's head, So their over and under total is 10.5. 10.5. Next up, we have the Cardinals. They signed J.J. Watt. They signed A.J. Green. They signed Malcolm Butler, which they did need help in the defensive backfield. They did lose Patrick Peterson, and they lost Kenyon Drake.
Yep.
So they have some shoes to fill, which they kind of did. I think they feel like they filled shoes with another defensive back. They drafted Zaven. It was a guy who we talked about. Zaven Collins, the guy we talked about when we did our linebackers preview for the draft, a tackling machine. And they drafted Rondale Moore, which is somebody we both absolutely love. The highlight reels for Rondale Moore. He's about 5'8", 5'7", 5'8", and built like a little fire hydrant, but fast as shit and just tough. And I'm actually going to be rooting for him to do well. Their schedule: at Titans, Minnesota, at Jacksonville, at Rams, home against San Francisco. Now, what's interesting,
and then I'll throw one more in there: at Cleveland.
What's interesting to me is because the first 2 teams they play this coming season are the 2 teams, maybe more than any other, that I don't feel like I have a good gauge on how they're going to be this coming season. Like, I really don't know how the Titans are going to be. And I'm like, I think we both kind of expect them both to be pretty good, but Titans lost a lot of players that I don't know if they replaced all of them. And Minnesota was worse last year than we thought they should have been. Maybe their defense, their defense wasn't as good, and they have made some improvements on that side of the ball. So those are just two teams that I don't feel like I have a good gauge on how they're going to be this year.
And it's one of those things.
So it's hard for me to tell you what I think the Cardinals will do with those first 5 games.
Is it going to be the situation where those teams get better later and they're kind of shaky early? Like, you don't know.
This is or did Vrabel and their front office, did they know something about letting those guys go because they let a number of guys go, including offensive linemen, which is key especially for a strong running game, which they rely on so heavily. So I don't know about those first 2 teams. I like both their coaches. I like both their quarterbacks to a degree. But I just don't know how they're going to be. They should win the Jacksonville game. And then obviously at Rams and home against San Francisco, that's tough. So their over and under total is 8. Vegas set that at 8 games, 8 wins, which actually makes them a sub 500 team with the new 17-game schedule.
Yep.
Next, we have the Seahawks signed the aforementioned Gerald Everett from the Rams, which I think is a big deal because it's a significant subtraction from the Rams and a significant addition for the Seahawks. It's quite the turnaround for that to happen within a division like that. That's pretty interesting. And they did help out Russell Wilson a little bit. They brought in guard Gabe Jackson. On the other side of the ball, which their defense was not great last year, they did lose Shaquille Griffin, cornerback, who is a real player. So that's a tough one. And they did draft a wide receiver, Dwayne Eskridge. Which, okay. Again, another team who was lacking early draft picks probably mainly because of the Jamal Adams trade. So.
Yeah. And, I was going to say the same thing. Their secondary needed to improve anyway, and then they lost the guy. Their run game needs to be healthy. It needs to get a little bit better. Like, to help Wilson. Wilson got sacked last year.
Yes.
The play action game helps him out a ton.
For sure.
Is the Wilson drama finally over? We talked about that a lot when we started this podcast. Is the drama over, and they could just move on and play football?
So he tried to put a cap on it and say it's done, but whether it is or not, that's a whole nother issue.
Yeah, we'll see how they feel. I guess, right?
I think he just didn't want to get lumped in with Aaron Rodgers and Deshaun Watson, so he just was like, "Oh, I would never say that." Okay, all right, no problem.
And is it almost over for Pete Carroll? He's in his 70s now, I think, or approaching.
He's young 70s, but
he's got a ton of energy. Yeah, he does. Yeah. But
he doesn't come.
It's a grind.
Obviously, Nick Saban is in it. I think Nick Saban just turned 70 or 71, and you would call him a young 70 also. Like he is just as fiery, just as energetic. So yeah, different guys, different things. When Parcells turned 70, it was like. Not looking so good. So there's differences, and so he looks good. But, in the end, it also comes down to how long. Listen, these guys don't only get paid to win games. They get paid to deal with a lot of bullshit that the players and the organization has to deal with just by the nature of the beast. And it does become a question of how much longer do you want to deal with the bullshit. He's got to work. He's got a championship, got tons of dough. I'm sure you want to ride the Russell Wilson train as long as you can and then maybe move along. But, their schedule, interesting. Also, very similar, not too indifferent from the Cardinals. They at Indy, home against Tennessee, at Minnesota, at San Francisco, home against the Rams.
That's weird. Yeah.
Loaded. So, their over and under total there was 10. Did you want to talk any further about the schedule?
I'm good, brother.
Okay. So then finally we go to the 49ers. And really, listen, this whole season will come down to whether or not Jimmy Garoppolo is able to stay on his 2 feet. Let's just be honest. When he's playing, Kyle Shanahan has an above 75% winning percentage. And when he's not playing, Kyle Shanahan has like a 20-25% winning percentage. It's just the reality of the beast with San Francisco. You can say what you want about Garoppolo as a player. They did go to a Super Bowl with him in the one full season that he played. And if he can stay upright, they can win football games because this team is absolutely complete. They are missing nothing.
Trey Lance would benefit from learning behind him too. So that's a great thing.
Yeah, if you're the Niners, you don't want Trey Lance playing at all this year.
Nope.
That means you're having a successful season, number one. It means Garoppolo is healthy, number two. And it means that a kid who played one full season over a year ago didn't have to start for you in the NFL on a team that's Super Bowl ready. I mean, it just is what it is. They didn't really sign. I'm sorry.
Yeah, lean on your run game because that's where they're the strongest.
Absolutely. So they didn't really sign a whole lot of players other than re-signing their own players, which on this team is fine because they were one of the more complete teams.
They just got to stay healthy, man. That was a big thing. Their defense went down too. It wasn't only Jimmy G. Correct.
No, absolutely. They had injuries. They had a lot of injuries last year. They lost Kendrick Bourne, which, listen, not a number one wide receiver, but sometimes when you lose that guy who like catches a third down pass, catches a random pass, and it's almost like he was a guy who you also had to pay attention to. You couldn't just not pay attention to him. You lose that guy, and suddenly your number one and number two guy are getting covered more often than they were.
Yeah, and they're not. And it's not like it wasn't Julio Jones and Calvin Ridley. They weren't exactly
correct.
Well,
correct. Yeah. So it may not sound like a big deal that they lost Kendrick Bourne, but don't be so sure. And they also lost Solomon Thomas, defensive end.
And both.
But Bose will be back. I'm saying Bose will be back. They lost Solomon Thomas is gone from the team. Yeah, he's gone. He moved on.
Yeah, but he was underwhelming though as a high draft pick too, wasn't he?
Yeah, I think so. But perhaps.
Yeah. All right.
It's a loss. It's someone that has to be replaced.
I hear you.
Obviously, we mentioned they drafted Trey Lance. They did bring in offensive lineman Aaron Banks. Again, another team they kind of mortgaged a lot to move up to get Lance, so that left them with less picks. We're gonna find out within the next couple of years. You got the Rams, you got the Seahawks, almost all of the teams in this division. Now that I think about it, and 49ers, where they really, especially the Rams, though. They mortgaged a lot of the future to try to win right away. Yeah. And if none of them win a Super Bowl, and then they're left with, no draft picks and those other guys they can't sign because they're coming up against a salary cap, it's going to be interesting to see what they do.
The rest of the guys have bad contracts.
Bad contracts with aging players and no draft picks. It's going to be really interesting to see what they do.
They can go from having the best division league to 2024 having the worst division league.
Like, it could happen even quicker than that. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Because, the interesting thing with that is, cornerbacks and wide receivers and running backs, they fall off a cliff quick. They don't have a slow decline. Very rarely do they have, a slow decline. You look 2 years ago, Richard Sherman was one of the best corners in the league, and last year he was below average. That's why he hasn't been signed yet. Because if you lose that step in those positions,
you're toast.
Running back, wide receiver, corner, you lose one step and you're no longer even viable. It's amazing.
You're useless. You're hurt the team more than
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of those guys that they brought in, both of those teams were in the defensive backfield. So interesting. Okay, so who do you have as your number 4 team in this division? 4th place.
So number 4, I have the Arizona Cardinals at 6-11.
Wow, 6. I have the Arizona Cardinals as well, and I have them with 7.
Wow, 7.
I know. So I am not a believer that bringing in a bunch of aged veterans who look like they're breaking down but might still have
years
something
ago.
in the tank. Yeah. I just everybody was jacking off about AJ Green coming in. I'm like, dude, the guy hasn't played a complete season. I don't even know how long.
Right.
I get JJ Watt, but he's 30-something years old, man. I don't know how long you think he's going to continue this. Do I think it's nothing? No, but do I think he's just going to go off? I don't know that either. I really don't know that, and I don't know that in this division. So, and I don't know how much of a Kyler Murray guy I am as far as winning games. He's exciting. He's interesting. He certainly throws a good ball. Just like in the NBA, we talk about Trae Young, and I say, I don't know if you could really build your team around a guy who's 5'11". I don't know that you can build your team around a quarterback who's like 5'10". I don't know that. I think that's tough. And
great comparison, and same college.
Where did Trae Young? He did. Son of a bitch. I did that off the cuff too. Wow. That's good shit right there. Good call by you. I didn't know that. So I'm with you on that one. I think if anyone's going to go down, it's going to be the Rams, and I mean it's going to be the Cards.
And you know, I want to. What's the coach's name? Cliff Kingsbury. I like him too, but I don't think it's there. I just don't.
Well, the reality is he's the fourth best coach in the division.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, in all honesty, it ain't even close.
No, I was just going to say the same thing. It's not close.
You know, I would probably say like Shanahan's the best coach. McVay, very close second. What the hell is his name? Man. Pete Carroll, very close third. I don't know that he's a great coach, but he's a coach that is relatable. He has a way of getting along with players very well. A very close third. And then a distant fourth.
He's got a Super Bowl, and I tell you, Shanahan's blown two. I'd be careful there.
I don't give him the blown one on the first one, but I see it with the Atlanta one.
He gets a lot of it, in my opinion.
Why? They scored a lot of points.
Run the ball when you're up.
You have a head coach there that could have told him to do the exact same thing.
And
that coach doesn't have a job anymore.
He does not.
Well, he does. He does as an assistant for the Dallas Cowboys, which won't make any difference whatsoever. Yeah. Who do you got for number 3?
In third place, I don't think you're going to agree with this one. I just have a gut feeling on what you just said. But I have the San Francisco 49ers.
So do you not believe in Garoppolo, or do you not think he's going to be healthy?
Sure. A little bit of both. I'm not a huge fan of him. I think the top 2 teams I have ahead of him are a lot better teams, better core, more talent than the Niners. I'm not saying the Niners are shit, but I think that the Rams and Seahawks are just better. Yeah. And I have them at 8 and 9.
Okay, I have the Rams in third place, and I have them with 9 wins, which would be an under. I think they're going to underwhelm because in the NFL, you're going to have to deal with injuries. God forbid it's Matthew Stafford who gets hurt, which I don't really want to see either. But I'm just saying, God forbid it's Matthew Stafford who gets hurt. It'll be more like 5 wins, depending on if and when he gets hurt. But like an Aaron Donald who did finish the season with some cracked up ribs last year, they're so dependent on starters, and I just don't know that you can do that in the NFL. In this day and age, you got to have some friggin' depth, and they just have 0. And I think it's gonna hurt them. And so I got them winning 9. I got them going. What does that mean? I got them going 9 and 8.
9 and 8, yes, sir.
9 and 8. Okay.
I love the Rams. I got them in second place.
Okay.
At 11 and 6.
And so you're a believer in Stafford?
I think Stafford makes a huge difference. I think you finally get him a great offensive mind head coach. They're going to do that like jet sweep, fake, play action crap. Stafford's athletic enough. They'll protect him. Cooper Kupp, whatever his name is, and Woods. And now they have, if Jackson stays healthy, I think they're good enough on the outside. And now with the addition of the improvement of Cam Akers in the run game down the stretch, I think Stafford's going to love that playing that offense.
Yeah, there's 2 guys in the NFL that have no more excuses after this season, and that is we mentioned one of them in a previous preview of the AFC South, I think, or AFC North. I'm not sure. We mentioned Carson Wentz. What is that? The
South,
AFC
yep.
North? AFC South.
Yep.
Carson Wentz has no more excuses because you got everything you want. You got your coach, you got the talent that's around you, you got the offensive line, you got the defense. You even got a weaker division. And I think Matthew Stafford, who I will be rooting for because I've been one to tout his talent, I think he's gotten just lost with the Lions. I wish he didn't sign his last contract with them. He has no excuses after this year. You got the coach, you got the weapons, you got the team, you got the running game, you got the defense. There's no excuses after this season. And I don't think he's looking for excuses. I'm just saying, like, you don't have the excuses after this year.
I agree.
So if you're gonna make it happen, you got to do it this year. Next year, the latest. But I just think they're too thin. I just think they're too thin in a league where people get hurt, and in a league where now players don't play banged up the way they used to as much. They still play banged up, but they don't play as banged up as they used to. I just think it's going to be tough. So for me, my second place team is the 49ers. I have them with 10 wins. I just can't believe that Jimmy Garoppolo is going to get injured again. Like, he got injured with New England after only 4 starts. He got injured after just a handful of starts his first full year. And he got injured last year. Like, I got to believe that the guy can make it a whole season. That doesn't mean it's actually going to happen, but I just got to believe that he can. And I just look at history, says when he's upright, they're a very good team and they're a tough team to beat. He's not perfect. He's not even great. But there is something about him with that team. They did go to a Super Bowl and had a real chance at winning that game. I can't stand when we put one throw on a guy's back as if he didn't play the rest of the game, as if he didn't give them the lead in the first place. But I got to believe that he's going to play at least most of the season. And if he does, they win football games. So I got them winning 10 games, which would be right on the nuts. That's right on the number. I wouldn't be surprised if it was 11. I just think the division is so difficult that I think it's going to be hard to win that many games. So then your number one team. I'm sorry.
And no, real quick to add to that, selfishly too, for him personally, big year for him because he has a guy breathing up his ass if he doesn't play well, and if you play, so and he can make some money somewhere else if they do want to move on from him. So it's.
I was just gonna say, there's 2 things for him to play for this year. Yeah, there's 2 things. Number one, you're playing for a championship because you really are on a championship-ready team. Yeah. There are a few teams that are as complete. Maybe Tampa, maybe the Colts. And maybe the Browns. I don't even think Kansas City is as complete because I don't think their defense is that good. But I don't think it matters.
Would you say Baltimore, but Lamar holds them back?
I just think Lamar is the least of all those quarterbacks. I don't know if he's less than Baker. I don't know who I'd rather have. I think I'd rather have Lamar because he's more exciting. Anyway, I just think it's one of the most complete teams. And you've shown when you're healthy that you can win. So that's reason number 1. And reason number 2, if you stay healthy and have just a relatively good season, you win 10 games, you're gonna end up in a really good situation and get paid.
Definitely.
You're gonna get paid again. Definitely. So if you get
you mentioned a couple weeks ago, if you're paying Kirk Cousins and you're paying Derek Carr and you're paying these guys, Jimmy will get paid. So
yeah, absolutely. But if he gets hurt, he might never get a starting job again.
Can you see him going to Pittsburgh? Like Ben retires, he plays well. Like just
absolutely, that's probably not a bad idea,
right? Like something like that.
Yeah, go sit behind him for one more season or something. Like go to Pittsburgh, get signed. Sign like a 1-year deal or something like that. Almost like a Teddy Bridgewater type situation. Go to Pittsburgh. If Ben wants to play one more season, depending on how this year goes, sit behind him, and then when he's done, you take over that franchise.
I know, man. That's.
Talk about if that were to happen, which is a huge if, but like talk about a charmed life. You start with New England and you learn from Tom Brady and Bill Belichick. You go to San Francisco with a Super Bowl championship ready team and go to at least one Super Bowl. And then you end your career with a storied organization like the Pittsburgh Steelers. Oh, and you're more handsome than like any guy on the planet. Like Jesus Christ. Like, does it get much better than that? I don't know.
Oh.
I don't know. So who's your number 1 team? Seattle.
I got me and you both have the Seahawks. I think they're the best team overall. I think that Wilson's job is going to help them. Wilson's job being over is going to help them move forward. I have them at 12-5.
Okay, I also have them winning division, but I have them with 11. And again, it just comes down to the fact that I just think this is a really difficult division. We talked about the Cardinals. You have them winning 6 games, and I have them winning 7. But I don't think either one of us would be surprised at all if the Cardinals beat any or all of the other 3 teams once.
100%.
Like you wouldn't be surprised at all. It wouldn't be like it wouldn't be like I don't think I think the Jets would struggle this year to say beat the Patriots because I think the Patriots loaded up. They got Belichick.
And I'd be shocked. I think they would struggle.
Or they beat the Bills.
Yeah.
Oh, I'd be stunned. if the Jets were to beat the Bills, right? Like or if Jacksonville were to beat the Colts again this year, like they did. That'd be stunning, right? I wouldn't be stunned at all if the Cardinals were to beat all three of these teams once, all three of them. It's just the nature of this division lends itself that way. But I do see Seattle. I think listen, this is like one of my like wild, I don't know if it's a wild prediction, but a kind of prediction that no one else is going to make. I think that signing of what's his name, Gerald Everett, of him leaving the Rams and coming on to Seattle, like the subtraction from the Rams and the addition to the Seahawks, I think it's huge. And Russell Wilson with a legitimate tight end, along with the wide receivers that they have out there already, and Pete Carroll wants to run the ball. I don't know. And they did bolster that offensive line, which is something that he was asking for.
Yep.
Again, it's a really tough decision, really tough division. So I think 11 is pretty low for a team winning their division, but it's because it's tough. But I think they're the best team in this division, and I do think they're actually a viable Super Bowl contender. I really do. I think San Francisco could be, but I don't know that right now. Like, we'd be stunned if Russell Wilson doesn't play every game for Seattle because that's just what he does.
Yep.
We're both like, it's kind of a coin toss with Jimmy G. You know what I mean? And we don't know with Matthew Stafford being new, like, we don't know exactly what's going to happen there. We think they're a playoff team, but, it's his first year in a new system. You got to give him some time, and it's the toughest division. Russell Wilson, same team, lots of weapons, upgrades. I think they should win.
Kyler's fun, but he's frail. He might get walloped at some point.
And doesn't like taking hits. Like he does a lot of chuck and duck. And so I just think Seattle's the best team in this division. And again, as always, we're assuming teams stay healthy. But
right. That's never the case.
That's the way it goes. Another one in the books. I think that's number 23.
Number 23, buddy.
Off the top of my head, I can't think of any famous 23s.
So maybe, I have a top 5 list.
The most famous athlete in the history of sport. But we can start with number 5, right?
I think our number 1's going to be the same.
No.
All right. Number 5 for me is Marshawn Lynch.
Okay, I thought about him, but I didn't. My number 5, Mitch Richmond. I love the guys who when you think about him. Mitch Richmond was a really good basketball player. He did have 3 or 4 All-Star appearances, won the All-Star MVP one year. Great shooter. Great shooter. Underrated player, Mitch Richmond.
Number 4 for me, I don't like the prick, but I got to put him on here, LeBron James.
Yeah, I refused.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
Because he's just a copycat. Even him being 23 is just trying to be Jordan, so screw you. He doesn't make it up. My number 4 was Louis Tion. Excellent pitcher. Very cool name.
Number 3 for me, this guy is our boy Mikey Nuviola. Loves this guy. He's one of the most underrated players. Devin Hester should be in the Hall of Fame as a special teamer. If you're going to put DHs in the Hall of Fame for baseball, it's a position. He's helped teams win. He's got the best numbers. Great to watch him play. From the
best special teams player ever?
Return-wise, I think. I would
better
say.
Than Dion?
I think he's got more touchdowns.
Probably.
I think he does.
Devin Hester was a freak, dude.
Dude.
They tried so hard to make him a receiver. It
didn't click. I know, it just didn't click,
it's
man.
Weird, right?
Yeah, it is.
With that kind of speed.
Well, he might be better in this kind of game, like a McCole Hardman type of guy who's for the Chiefs.
Very much could have been a man before his time. Like he probably, if he would have been around 10 years after he actually played, he probably would have been. I think they just didn't know what to do with guys like that at the time.
Yeah, and he played for the Bears.
They sure didn't.
And the Bears, exactly.
I think I'm beating you to the punch on this one, but I'm going to throw it out there. Donnie Baseball, Don Mattingly is my number 3.
Wow,
probably beating you to one there.
That's my number 2.
Was my favorite baseball player growing up. I love Don Mattingly. I believe he belongs in the Hall of Fame. I do think it's a close call, so I don't push the issue all that much, but I do think he's a Hall of Famer because I think he was the best at his position along with Keith Hernandez, but during his career I think he was the best or more often than not the best at his position for a long part of his career.
Yeah, he's my number 2. And just to add on, it's a shame. He retired just before that '96 team when they won, and it just
I know
just
that
a
bothers
shame.
me
Like
so much.
it's just a shame, but
So, who played first base when they won it
in '96?
Yeah. Tino Martinez.
He wasn't there in '96, was he? Was he there in '98?
No,
I don't know. Now you got me thinking. I thought it was Cecil, but
no.
It had to be.
Oh, you might be right. But he didn't play first base full time. Cecil Fielder didn't play full time first base.
Tino had to be on that team, right? I don't know. Now you got me thinking.
All right, while you're looking
that
up,
he was.
Tino was.
So he must have been
Tino Martinez
first year there. Yeah.
Yeah, and he was not loved when he first got there because you're taking the place of a legend.
Absolutely.
It was like, who the hell is this guy?
It confused me because he was on that '95 Mariner team that beat the Yankees. So that's why I guess. All right.
Dude, but Tino, not number 23. You talk about a guy. There's an old saying that says you never want to be the guy who follows the guy. Like, you never want to be the man who follows the man, right? Like, you don't want to coach after Parcells. You don't want to coach after Bill Walsh. You don't want to coach after Phil Jackson. Like, you don't want to be the quarterback after Tom Brady. You know what I mean? Like, you don't want to be the man who follows the man. And boy, you'd have a hard time. You'd be hard pressed to find somebody as a player who filled the shoes of a legend as well and as quickly as Tino Martinez. Because Tino is adored by Yankee fans.
Absolutely.
Adored. Because he came up clutch in a number of spots. So
Constantino Martinez.
Constantino. Not a number 23. My number 2 is Michael Jordan. Obviously, greatest basketball player in the history of sport. To me, not even really that close. There's Michael Jordan, and then somewhere a half an hour later, there's the rest of the players that ever played. That's just how I just between his ability, his talent, his desire, his physicality, his ability to stay healthy. Here's a guy who, I might be mistaken here. I think he played 7 or 8 straight seasons, all 82 games. So when I hear these little bitches talking about either load management or they started the season too early and they couldn't take it, Shaquille O'Neal went off on LeBron James saying, dude, you work about 4 hours a week making $100 million. Shut up. Okay, just go play basketball. So Michael Jordan, this is one of those stats that people don't talk about, but it's a big deal because he was a star. Right. 7 or 8 straight seasons playing 82 games. And why that's a big deal more than just his toughness, I was a Nets fan growing up, and they stunk. And the only reason you went there was to watch someone like Michael Jordan. And nowadays, that guy, there's a really good chance if you're playing against Memphis or something like that, a LeBron James or a Devin Booker or somebody, or certainly Kawhi Leonard, might not play because they don't need you that day. Whereas Michael Jordan he wanted to win every friggin' game. He played every friggin' game, rarely took off. And even when he was hurt and broke his foot or his ankle like that, he had to fight with management to get back in the game. They had a time limit on him. We saw this in the documentary. And
obviously he's my number 1, just to lead back right into that. But And the best part about it, he didn't play with any of his friends. He wanted to beat his friends.
Right. Now, some players did join him. Scottie Pippen was a draft pick. I push back on this argument that, Michael Jordan never won without Scottie Pippen. Michael Jordan never won without a legitimate number 2. That could have been Scottie Pippen. That could have been Clyde Drexler. That could have been
absolutely.
You give him any legitimate number 2, and they would have won championships. What
Tony
you can
Kukoc
honestly say,
legit number 2 if they gave him the opportunity.
If he was there earlier, he wasn't there at the time. But you give him Charles Barkley. You give him. I can put a list of 12, 15 guys that if that guy was on the Bulls instead of Scottie Pippen, they still win 6. Okay.
How about Mitch Richmond?
Him on it, absolutely. What you can absolutely say is Scottie Pippen never won a championship without Michael Jordan. Why? Because Scottie Pippen was never a number 1. That's why Scottie Pippen gets lumped in 50 greatest players of all time. It's a joke because if he didn't play for the Bulls, he wouldn't even be the top 100 players.
It is a joke.
Anyway, I love to go with very cool names. At least that's my recent history with our episode number. And I just one of the maybe the coolest name in baseball ever. Oil Can Boyd. How do you get a nickname like Oil Can if you're not just greasing the shit out of a baseball?
Exactly.
As a pitcher, by the way, he was a pitcher. And he was kind of like a junk ball, wicked, wild wind-up, all kinds of weird shit going on. But he was a fun player, and rarely are pitchers fun, and he was fun. And that name, Oil Can Boyd, I don't know how the hell he got it, but that is just an awesome nickname for a pitcher.
Yeah,
it's like Greaseball Colisano. You know, it's like, oh, well, how does that guy pitch, huh? So that's my number one, Oil Can Boyd. He was a pretty good pitcher, but he was more of a personality than he was a good pitcher.
I love it.
Another one in the books, my friend. Number 23. Awesome job. And
have a happy 4th of July weekend, sir. Stay safe.
Independence Day. Independence Day. Don't blow any fingers off. You need all 10 of them. And if you don't have 10 right now, just keep the ones that you got. All right. Although I really do enjoy fireworks. I'm a big fan. I try to do them safely. But,
I like watching people do it. I'll sit back and drink.
You just like that? Yeah, I like lighting shit up and just blowing it up.
Yeah, Greaseball Colisano.
Good old 9 fingers. I'm Pete Colisano for Scott Bracey. You've been listening to Bump and Run, and we'll catch you guys next week.
Later.
That's my favorite part. Am I hitting the right button here? Yeah, I hit that right. I gotta go over here.